We're here.
Oh, hello.
We are here. Let me make sure everything is good. Hello, everybody. I'm testing audio levels. Joe, do you want to say something?
Hey, man. How's it going? I'm used to you being here alone in your room. It's weird to be in here when I'm used to being on the internet in here.
Yeah, I prefer when you're on the internet and here on my room and alone, and you're also there. But then I'm there too. It's great. Hello to Arctic Monkey, Trash and Can, Johnny the Artsy Fartsy, Simon Kucher, Corey, Matot, Lorenzo Lopez, Tet, Matej Koyar, Emma Blomskog, GK, Tet Oriana 87, Neil Kowalkowski, and who could forget GK, Jack Mendez, and Jerry Fleckhor Art. Welcome everybody, thank you for being here. We are testing the Nightshade all-night setup. I don't know what else we will do.
Yeah, we're just chilling. We're hanging out. We're getting ready to poison data sets and hurt people's feelings.
Yay! Hurting people's feelings!
You know, it's the internet.
Hello, everybody. Someone says tomatoes are nightshades too, right? I think technically, right? Tomatoes are in the same group as eggplants and things like that.
I don't know what else. I assume, so eggplants always make my lips itchy. I assume all nightshades make my lips itchy.
Figure drawing today, says Reverse. Good. Keep up the art. Don't get distracted by AI. Do get distracted by sending us things to Nightshade. But so what are we going to do today? We're going to wait a little bit for a few more people to file in. We will take a couple of images to Nightshade and show so that Joe and I can test the workflow here. Joe's gonna help me collect stuff. We've got an email that people will send things to, and he'll be helping me do the night shading as well. And then we're not gonna do a ton of those. Maybe then we'll just go back to drawing like usual, and then we'll be ready to go on Thursday for the real deal, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're gonna have a really good time on Thursday night, and it's gonna be a real marathon. You know, we're gonna keep going until we can make a dent. Yeah. So it's gonna be real fun.
We'll see how it goes. Oops, 1 second. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb here.
Yeah, it should be a real good thing. You know, you'll be able to make a difference by donating a little bit of money to the Concept Art Association and their fight against AI art and all of the scraping nonsense that they do, which is breaking all of us down and making all of us feel attacked and under siege. And at the same time, showing that little bit of proof will allow us to nightshade your individual art here in real time, and then also have Steve give you a critique and potentially a draw over.
It really depends how the timing works out, because we don't know how many people are going to come to this thing. But I'm going to do my damnedest to give everybody at least a reaction. You know, I don't know how in depth I'll be able to get, but yeah, it depends how many people are donating and partying along. But I want to give comments and reaction to everything that everybody says.
But we're going to chill, we're going to hang late, we're going to have a blast. It'll be fun. And you guys will be here in the chat, so we'll be chilling.
Somebody asked, is it going to be a long stream all night? I have to go Saturday, but I'll be back in 2 hours. This is just the test, so this one will not be long.
Yeah.
If the party vibe is right on Thursday night, then that one could go quite long.
Yeah.
I gotta recrop my camera.
Harsh Pal says, are you gonna teach us to do the Nightshade thing? We could run you through it. I mean, Nightshade, once you download it, which is it's public now. It's a very simple program. I mean, just once you open it, I mean, it takes all of a minute.
It is very easy.
You upload an image and then you say run Nightshade, as long as your computer can handle it, which my laptop couldn't, which is funny. My 2016 laptop, which can handle ZBrush, couldn't handle it, but you know, you could run ZBrush on a potato.
Yeah, that's an unfair comparison. Literally anything will run. Your phone could run ZBrush to some appreciable amount, I bet.
Let's see. Neerajus J, guys, it's impossible to ruin or scrape models. It's already trained. Well,
wrong, baby.
Well,
wrong, baby. Go figure. I'm gonna trust the person with the legendary career and the degrees and the peer-reviewed research that says that you can do just that. Call me crazy. I'm gonna trust him instead of a random person on the internet. That's
Hey
just the way
Saman,
I'm
how you
gonna
doing,
go.
man? Yeah, today's just a test, but we'll chill for a little while and hang out and get the word out about Thursday night a little bit. This is just our test of the sort of two-person in-studio stream for Thursday night, and this is the first time we've ever done this together.
Really what we're testing here is that the webcams and the mic setup are working. So how does the audio sound? Is the audio okay? I want to check in with the audience. Oh, I've had the music way too loud this whole time. That's my bad.
It's a party, bro.
It is a party. I did not mean to have it this loud that whole time. So many little things to manage. Just want it ever so lightly.
Felipe Pereira says, "Forgive me, Steven. I just decided I'm going to go the furry route. I really need money." That's okay, man. You got to take whatever commissions you can.
Bro, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It is what it is, brother.
I've done my fair share of sculpture commissions where a guy's like, "Can you sculpt me? But like, I have a cool sword." Sure.
Well, I think that's a little different than furry, than straight up furry.
Well, they're all different fantasies. We all have different fantasies.
Anna Root says, by the way, can we all just appreciate how beautiful Joe is? He is, isn't he?
Oh, good.
Yes.
Thank you. Very sweet of you.
I gotta fix my webcam. I need to.
Two artists, one studio. He. That is an old internet joke. The youngins aren't going to get that reference.
Ancient internet joke. Yeah,
Audio was good.
It's very nice to have actually an actual friend in here in person. I rarely get to do this. I think I've only ever had, or here, in the past year since I moved here, I had Ahmed on once for a live A to Z, and I did a Sketchy Van podcast in here. But besides that, I haven't been able to have other people in here. Yeah, so people are saying the audio is good. The background music was too loud. I had noticed that. That was my bad. I'm going to have to keep massaging that because the audio levels on the different songs tend to change.
And you know what, Steve? When I the last time I was on Med's podcast, that was in your old apartment. That wasn't here.
It was, right?
Yeah, that was the other place.
Ja 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 ja. Jenny Craddock says all my drawing happens late at night, so I'm V excited. We're V excited too.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Yes. All right, now music should be much lower. That was my bad. I had that set for the holding screen. I thought those would... Hold on a second. I'm going back to the holding screen for a second. I'm still here. Okay, I need to remember that the audio level stays the same on a device when you switch scenes. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Right. Yeah, OBS is tricky, man.
Arctic Monkey says, how do your wives feel about you being together?
That's a loaded question, bud.
Marriages are overbought and oversold. That's what I would say. And I guess, our pre-tuning of the audio worked out because the only reviews we've gotten about the audio is that it sounds good, sounds okay. So I think we're good to go here on this. So as long as I touch nothing even if I touch nothing, something will inevitably go wrong at go time because it's the internets.
Yeah, that's okay. We will we'll just soldier through. Audio should be fine. They'll tell us if it sucks.
Yeah, they will. They always do. They always do. All right, Joe. I'm just gonna draw for a little bit and then
sounds good.
We'll test the Gmail for a second. If you see any questions or anything in chat,
feel free to
read
free
them.
sketch. Just sketch for free. The last bunch of streams, Steve's been working on a super secret project he and I are working on together.
Don't tell them anything.
I'm not telling them anything. Just super secret project.
As soon as you say what it is, then you're married to it.
Yeah. Totally. As Steve said the last few streams, I'm feeling faces. I'm needing faces.
I need a lot of faces.
So, music is basically out. Now the music is way too low for me. That's fine. It's okay. We'd rather hear ourselves anyway when we play this back.
Yeah, that's more important.
I can only sleep to my own voice now, which is, My therapist says it's pretty narcissistic, but I don't care.
You just listen to recordings
Come
of
on.
yourself
Yeah.
all
yeah.
night before bed?
Me giving me giving speeches on various of the world's socio and economic issues. I go to sleep listening to myself, and then when I wake up, I'm like, wow, what great ideas.
Incredible.
Genius.
Man, his voice is so soothing. People sleep to this stream sometimes, and I'm like, how? How is that possible? Because I'm inclined to do my AC/DC impression at any moment. It's like, I don't see how you could possibly.
Oh yeah. You
sleep
get
through
so there have been times in the past where I've had your stream on and just sort of had it on the cell phone and maybe passed out taking a nap or something.
Uh-huh.
And you got to have the volume on rather low to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because the singing can happen at any time.
I know. I can't help it. It bursts out of me.
How heavy is Nightshade, as in like size? So it's a lot of little files. It takes a while to download. But then what was the minimum for it, Steve? 8 gigs of RAM, something like that?
Yeah, I think it said you need
Yeah, so if you have 8 gigs of RAM.
6 or 8 to run it on CPU processing.
Yeah, which is what I'm doing here on this laptop of Steve's. And it's Nightshading something like is taking like 2 or 3 minutes, which is not crazy.
You definitely want to, it's much faster on a GPU. Like we were testing it on Joe's on my wife's laptop right now, and that has a 8 gig mobile NVIDIA card. And that's night shading images in like under 2 minutes. Any graphics card it's compatible with will increase the quality tremendously on that. But I do also know that the team over at University of Chicago is working on making, the same way that there's a web version of Glaze, they do want to make a web version of Nightshade. So once that's out, that makes it possible for even people without graphics cards and computers that would otherwise be slower, you'll have an alternative way to nightshade your images relatively quickly.
Yeah, then even people with a Joe level of tech can get in there and nightshade and glaze their images, which is good. And you know, man, I know that a lot of the audience here, you know, we've been talking a lot about the 2D applications, but you know, if you're paying attention to the whole AI thing, especially on Twitter and such, they're coming for 3D too. It's just a matter of time. They're already doing 3D animation, and they're scraping that way. But then the thing after that is going to be 3D assets. And there's already, I mean, if you've been on, Turbo Squid, or you've been on all of those websites where you get free 3D assets for kit bashing and stuff like that, that stuff is all scrapable. You know, so sooner or later, 3D assets, it's going to be the same thing for sculptors like me.
It's weird. I mean, you see some of the tech demos for how they're trying to do 3D without getting at the actual files, like from something from a Turbo Squid. Some of the like research papers, and I think some of the tech demos that are out are they're basically doing photogrammetry on like movies and stuff like that.
Wow.
So they're not looking at the 3D models themselves. They're looking at the renders made from the 3D models, and they're reverse engineering the 3D model
crazy.
from the actual
crazy.
movie screen. So that's pretty.
Oh, that's nuts. So in other words, you could do photogrammetry of, say, a TIE fighter from Star Wars,
the
and
movie,
then get a 3D model based on footage from the movie Star Wars.
Yeah. So that's more limited, because it's like if there's never a shot of the back of the model in the actual movie, the photogrammetry is never going to have a guess, right? Or it would need to do a separate generative process to get that. But it's still pretty nefarious and genius.
Oh, totally.
Both at once.
Totally. And photogrammetry is a much more powerful tool than I think it's not on everybody's radar. So I started using photogrammetry back in 2016. And I used it from, I think, 15 or 16 all the way up until I got my first 3D scanner. And I got to say, it's crazy how if you use a program like 3ds Zephyr, it's super powerful, man. And I like to work traditional in clay and then digitize my work. And photogrammetry or 3D scanning is the way to go. And photogrammetry is crazy because, it's working off of regular pictures. You don't need anything more than, your cell phone to make it work. It's crazy. Games by Mark Wolf, 3D NFTs. Yeah, double evil. Double, triple secret evil.
Double, triple secret.
We should harsh pal. We should Nightshade our work and then add no AI tag in ArtStation to let them train the poison work, right? Well, I don't know. The tag doesn't work, right? But now on ArtStation, you can opt out of everything new you upload, right? What's
the tags are non-enforceable at this point.
Oh, gee
like
whiz.
Those tags. So
those tags are for their internal AI system that they're developing at ArtStation?
No. I don't think it's that. But they're basically, it's like a plead with the companies at this point. It's like they're saying, we're letting you know that we explicitly don't want this scraped. So it's similar to sort of like robots.txt. But the thing is that these companies don't have to honor that. You know, there's nothing in the law compelling them to honor that request. And in a sense, they are incentivized to not honor it in the current landscape, because if they were to honor it, I think that would create some confusion in like a legal case, for example, because their whole legal position is that what they're doing is absolutely 100% totally okay and legal and allowed. So if they sort of waffle on that, I think that calls their position into question. I'm just I'm theory-minding myself into what I think they would want to do in court or something like that. So I think they're actually incentivized to not honor those tags at this point, and I wouldn't trust them. Robots.txt is different because that is speaking directly to the scraping bot that a lot of these systems use. And the scraping bot has already been designed to say, all right, if the robots.txt says do not scrape, I'm not going to do it. But again, that's voluntary. That's just designed into the bot. And that doesn't have anything to do with like what's legal, what's text and data mining exemptions, anything like that.
Right.
So that could work. But as soon as the companies who are using that or honoring that, as soon as their incentives go the other way, there's nothing keeping them from just ignoring what's in your robots.txt file.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is super crazy. Average says, imagine they use their research skills to actually improve society. And that's why I personally want to thank the eggheads over the University of Chicago for using that insane ability and technical know-how to do something good with the world.
They might be single-handedly saving art here, folks.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see here. Nick Ravioli, it's nice to see that Dr. Zapata's patient agreed to a live stream session. Yeah, it's nice to be on this channel and be fully clothed for a change.
What am I doing to my friends?
Paper gown.
What am I doing to my friends?
Let's see. I'm going to shy away just from reading comments that are explicitly about the efficacy of the program or just sort of like, you know, what could work or wouldn't in what exact ways. As far as I understand, and I'm a total Luddite, Nightshade works. And using it before you upload your stuff onto social media is a good way to send an up yours into their system. It's a good way to arm the photon torpedoes and send them right into the Death Star's exhaust port. But besides that, I don't particularly know enough, nor do I really want to comment on anything sort of about the technicals.
Yeah, I can take a second to give my position here. I don't know specifically what people are asking, but just in general, I can talk a bit about it. And then after this, we will take a couple and test the workflow. Let me just skim real quick and see what the tone of these questions are.
They're not bad or anything. I don't want to necessarily read something of. You know, I saw Drinkwater had a question, but I didn't necessarily want to.
What if Nightshade people shaded some work before making it public so it had a better rate at poisoning the system? If Nightshade people shaded some work, I don't really know what they mean by that.
I asked you a similar question last week. In terms of the question I had asked you last week was, so what if people were using before Nightshade came out? What if people were using Nightshade before it was officially to be released?
Oh.
That kind of a question. I think that's what Drinkwater's asking.
That as cool as that would be, I don't think realistically that's what's happening. Yeah. So I think one of the important things to remember about Nightshade, is that this is all very experimental. And if you, there's some crazy conspiratorial thinking out there online from a very small amount of people. But the truth is that this is a very experimental thing from a very experimental team at the University of Chicago. This is cutting edge stuff. You know, people are doing this for like their PhD thesis and stuff over at the University of Chicago. So if you go look up, if you go to Nightshade's webpage, which I should link in the description, I'll do that soon. But if you go to the University of Chicago's page for Nightshade, you can see the whole team that's doing it, right? It's a small team, they are students. For people to have been using it a lot beforehand and already be putting things out there assumes a lot more resources than what is realistically available to a team that is doing this to help people. And like I said, for something like a PhD thesis and stuff like that. And it's all very experimental. So they're trying to figure things out. And Professor Ben Jal and the rest of his team are very committed to reacting to changes, bugs. They want to keep supporting this thing as things move forward. But, you know, when I was installing Nightshade before this on the other laptop, it's very clear that it's a small team doing it, right? It's not like the most optimized thing to install or anything like that. So with experimental things, there's going to be bugs. This is also highly like socially experimental. Like the question of like, well, will it work? Will it really effectively undermine the systems? Let's be honest here. Let's find out. That's what we're playing at here. This is a totally unprecedented social, cultural, technological moment. We are all contributing to a sort of great experiment here, I think. I'm not going to pretend to know 100% that it will work. It seems to check out that it will, but you know, it's a technological question. It's a how many people use it question. It's a how are the AI companies going to duck and weave question. There's a lot of contingencies and questions here. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, man. Well, I think it will work. I think it does work in the same way, you know, glazing has been proven to work, and it's made by the same team. Yeah. So you know, it's sort of a known unknown in terms of. You know, us not be. We had a conversation earlier. It was like, if you drop me back in time, I'm not making a car. You know, if you drop me back in time, I might be able to make the most rudimentary steam engine ever. But like, I'm you know, a computer is essentially magic to me, and most of us, and most of you in the chat too. Like, don't fool yourselves. But that being said, I mean, you look at people that make products at work. If they make experimental products at work, they tend to make experimental products that pan out. So, you know, whether or not it works in terms of system collapse, don't know. No way to tell unless we run the experiment. I sure would like that. You know?
I sure would like that. But there is also some just flat out, there has been some very funny, and I do mean funny because it's so ridiculous, like straight up, I hate the words misinformation and disinformation because I don't know that the people who do these things actually know that they're wrong about these things. But for example, just when Nightshade was announced, when the only publication about it in the world was one MIT review article about it, not a research paper, not explicitly saying how it worked. When that article, a popular level for consumption by the general population level article about it, when that was the only thing out about it, somebody came out claiming to have made an antidote to Nightshade. When nobody outside the team had any idea how it worked and put that out there as something that people could download. Now, I'm not gonna say that that's, what I think happened there is that person read the article and assumed that they knew how it worked and then made a quote unquote antidote for their assumption about how such a program would work. They were wrong.
Some of that is internet LARPing.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
You hear about a thing that advertises itself as a poison, and then you're like, oh, I have a potion for that. I have an antidote. It's like, shut up. Yeah. You don't.
They have no,
you know.
It's like, dude, there's one article in the world about this. You have no idea about how this works. It's very funny. And that has continued. That has not stopped. That has not stopped. All right, let's, should we take some stuff?
Yeah.
Let's take a couple and test the workflow.
Yeah, let's do it.
So here we go. I am going to I'm gonna put, so there, I've added a frame. You can ignore the donation for now. No one needs to donate right now. We are testing the email. So you can see the email above our heads. Send art, social media handle, and a screenshot of donation. Again, you do not need to do that right now because we're not asking people to donate right now. Just send a piece of art and your handle to nightshadeallnight@gmail.com. That is nightshadeallnight@gmail.com. Joe, are you putting that in the chat? I assume that's what I hear.
It is not. I'm actually saying...
And I'm gonna add it to the description of the stream as well. And there's also requirements there. JPEG or PNG only. Do not send us anything else. We're not gonna open anything else for security reasons. Less than 2,000 pixels on the longest side, and please keep it to 2 megabytes or smaller. And
yeah, Nick, I agree. Sounds like the guy was just bullshitting and clickbaiting, 100%.
And I have added that email to the description as well, if you want to copy paste it. Make sure I spelled it right. Nightshadeallnight@gmail.com.
All night long.
So Anthony says, should we nightshade our pictures of pets and selfies that we upload to Instagram or Facebook just in case? So that is something that I want to talk about. On Nightshade All Night, we are only going to be nightshading art. Let me be very clear about that. We're going to nightshade art. That is because this is an art channel. But you can nightshade anything. And I personally think it'd probably be a good idea to nightshade anything. Nightshade is not a defense. It is meant to poison the waters out there so that the companies have to return to the negotiating table and not just scrape the whole internet indiscriminately, right? So the more that's out there, the more inclined they'll be to be more cautious and to not take other people's stuff without asking permission or really just feeling entitled to it in general. So you can nightshade just about anything. That's different than, let's say, glaze, right? Like glaze is a defense, and that has different calculations. You know, you're gonna glaze your work, really. That's the only thing that you're going to glaze. There's technical considerations around that. Like you can run nightshade at much lower levels of potency. That is to say, very light poisoning, less artifacts on the images that you nightshade, because you're not trying to defend yourself. You're not trying to save you in particular as a person. You're trying to contribute to a sort of critical mass of protected images. So glaze, for example, is not like that. Glaze will only let the defense level go so low because it's about protecting people. So, for example, on a nightshaded image, you will tend to see less artifacts on a nightshaded image than on a glazed image. A glazed image in general will have more artifacts on it. And well, there was another part to that question that I already forgot, and I lost the question. Warrington Fizzlefeet says, in terms of which filter to apply first, was it nightshade then glaze or the other way around? It's nightshade first and then glaze. On Nightshade All Night, we're only going to nightshade people's images that they send. I would advise you to glaze them after. But again, nightshade, you should nightshade first and then glaze. So why is that? Well, they're still running tests over at the University of Chicago as to what happens when you mix both, right? They want, ideally, for you to be able to do both in one process, but that requires more work. They have to optimize that, figure out how to do that correctly. So ask yourself, safety-wise, what's more important? That you contribute to the poisoning or that you defend your personal style? Probably the more important thing is that you defend your personal style, or at least each individual image has more of an impact towards protecting your style than it does towards the critical mass of poisoning on the internet, if that makes sense. So you do nightshade first, and then you glaze, so that glaze has sort of the last word on it and is more inclined. How to put this? I haven't had to put this into words before. It's safer if glaze knocks out nightshade than it is if nightshade knocks out glaze. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
Put the poison in your cookie and then disguise your cookie.
You put that poison in the cookie.
So we are nightshading our first image.
Wow, 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 wow.
From Drinkwater, who was the quickest gun in the West. So Drinkwater, you're being nightshaded now, and then I'll send it to Steve, and we'll show it on stream. We'll show the before and after. You want to show the before and after?
That might get a bit complicated.
Yeah, let's just show the after. We'll show the after.
If you send me the nightshaded, we could show the nightshaded image.
Yeah. Okay, Nightshade was successful. It's coming over to you in a minute, Steve.
Let's check this out. And we're doing these on default intensity and the fastest render quality, just to keep things consistent for the stream here. If we wind up getting a lot of artifacts on anyone's particular style, because it does vary style to style, we might drop that to from default to the low intensity, but we will see.
Okay. We have a bunch more coming right over. All right, guys, I'm going to work as quick as possible.
All right, so even on the test, Joe is seeing.
I went from 1 to 6, and I went, shit. So I'm still here, folks. I'm just going to be a little quiet.
Well, since this is the test, let's say that we're going to cut it at this 6, actually. Let's look at the 6 that we got, and let's not do more than that. Just because this is the test, we don't need to do everything, and I do want people to donate. So we're going to cut it after those 6, all right, Joe?
Yeah,
let's do those 6 for the test. I'm going to take down you guys are all being very helpful, though. Thank you for helping us test the system here. So I'm going to take down the frame here. If we want more, I'll put the email back up. Okay, so this is from Drinkwater, and that is very lovely, I have to say.
It's really nice, isn't it?
That is excellent work. Drinkwater, I don't know if you sent your social media handles in your information, but if you could throw it into the chat, or if Joe could throw it into the chat. I know he's busy right now, but go ahead and put your @ so that people who like your image can follow you. But yeah, this is very lovely. My immediate reaction is that you're awesome and a beautiful person, and clearly your art spirit is very strong. I don't feel the need to hyper nitpick this. I'm sorry if our Nightshade settings produced any super strong artifacts that you don't like. Again, we're running this at default right now. You can go lower than this, and on low intensity, Nightshade is very low indeed. But yeah, if I could give you some thoughts, what can I say? What can I say for somebody who paints this beautifully? It's a matter of personal taste, but I think that if you have this kind of alacrity with lighting and composing nice shapes on the figure, the next step is always to take it into the background as well, and to incorporate the background beautifully into the value system. The roses are a start, but I think that there's so much more possibility-wise. A good example would be, well, obviously, I mean, it's a good example for everybody, but John Singer Sargent's paintings are always a great reference, and the portraits have a lot of messed up, beautiful, by messed up, I mean it's messed up by how good they are, right? His portraits obviously have a lot of really great backgrounds in them, a lot of very interesting designs to the backgrounds, but you can really, let's look up his Venetian period. I feel like paintings like this one in particular show some of the crazy tricks that you can do with a full background. Like, how crazy is it that that one slash of light is like the second highest contrast thing in the picture down here? First highest contrast is this back here, but we would all say that the focus of the picture is the two main figures there, right? That might not be your style, but I consider this basically a visual joke that only a master painter can pull off. If you were to incorporate that broader view with the skills that you have, you could get to making visual jokes that are only for master painters level. So I would definitely look into incorporating your backgrounds in there.
So I'm going to say the next one coming up is from Joe Dino Art. So that's at Joe Dino Art, and it made me laugh because I like old detective shows.
Thank you so much, Drinkwater. We appreciate it. You're gonna have to explain what this is because I don't get the joke.
It's not Joe Colombo. It's Colombo, the detective from TV, and a space heater. You know the old one more thing, and then he would like smoke a cigarette and then like come back and solve the murder. It was like a 70s, 80s detective show, and him and a space heater. I don't know exactly what he's doing there down below, but
it's a good thing you're here because I would not have gotten any of that. And I haven't watched any Columbo, so
yeah.
you've
the
got...
title helped me. I was not expecting Columbo the detective, but I dig it, man.
I'm glad Joe's here. You've got a fan in Joe for that, and this is a very nice drawing. I don't get the titles, but oh, you gave me the title.
Columbo Space Heater.
Got it. So ink drawing, nice handling. It looks like you drew it. I don't know. Did you have a pencil drawing underneath for this one? I don't know, but the face is very nicely handled, nice simplification. I think in general, getting more comfortable doing long flowing lines with your ink pen is probably what you're going to want. I'm not the kind of person who says like chicken scratch, as it's traditionally called, is always bad. Lots of people do very scratchy drawings. One of my favorites, well, I'll come back to that, but let me finish this. So chicken scratch is for areas like that, right? Where you can see that you started a stroke there, did a stroke there, did a stroke there, where you could have generalized that down to one flowing mark like that. It's a generalization that definitely does make ink drawings look much nicer because every little wiggle on a silhouette, how I think of it is that every wiggle is something that needs to be processed by the eye of the viewer. And that takes processing power. So the more wiggly, itchy the outside of something is, because we're very attuned to the outsides of shapes, it sort of tires the eye and the brain of the viewer after a while. So you save processing power, make the picture more efficient. It's difficult to find analogies for this by optimizing a line to just be a more clear statement. So it's worth it for a lot of people to do. But if you decide instead that you want to lean into it, I want to make the point that making chicken scratch lines can be made very beautiful. So one of my favorite people for this is John Cuneo. And I need to vet his art off screen for a second because he draws a lot of genitals.
Cool.
Let me pull up something that does not, and they're sneaky. Sometimes you're looking at a
they
picture.
are sneaky.
Sometimes you don't know there's a peepee in there until you've been looking at it for a bit. And I need to make sure to not flash that.
Oh yeah. Maybe you could just show part of that.
No, I think this is clear. Okay, I don't think there's a peepee. So this is a John Cuneo drawing. These are very scratchy and very itchy lines, and I think that these are some of the best drawings anyone's doing. I think he's a fantastic draftsman, and if you look him up, he's got tons of stuff online. He does covers for the New Yorker and things like that. Really high visual creativity, really high quality art, and tons of character comes through, even with the very itchy drawings. So it's not to say that you have to smooth everything out. You don't want to get caught in the awkward middle area. You want to go, either you're optimizing your lines and doing what tends to work for most people, or you say that's not me and try to find a way to make it work beautifully, i.e. John Cuneo. People are trying to scare me. They're like, there's pee-pee right there. There better not be.
Our next one is an old friend.
Let us look. Arctic Monkey. Very, very nice.
go follow our buddy Arctic Monkey on Instagram. It's Ida Leda with 2 A's at the end on Instagram. I just put Arctic's Instagram stuff in the chat.
This is Nightshade, Joe?
Yeah.
Let me do a new one. Yeah, very minimal artifacts on this one. This just looks, I don't see anything. This just looks like JPEG compression to me. Let's get the chat back. The chat.
Yeah, this default intensity on that one.
This is very nice, Arctic Monkey. Damn, you guys are good at art. You guys are good at art. I got to get all of you's art on the stream more often. We got to do stuff like this more. Yeah, this is a very nice picture. So what's the read that I get on this? So we got a ghost. That's got to be a ghost, right? I interpret this as a ghost. These are FBI agents that have been sent to investigate an SCP-style report of a true ghost haunting. That's a gun. And this is a piece of, this is the chalk outline of whoever was murdered here. All right, if that is what you intended, then you have designed a great read here. Yeah, I think this is a very nice picture. I will say that it does feel like, so there's a bit of tension, you know, I'm reading this as a head, and heads are obviously, you can think of if there's multiple heads in a picture, they will automatically make a shape between all of them, which is not the case for everything, right? It's like really only heads and hands do that. So there's 3 heads in this picture. So to me, there's like this inherent triangle between these heads, right? And you can see, you know, maybe that could compete because that's a face too. So it would make like a rhombus like that. But let's leave that out of it for now. It kind of leaves the whole right side of the picture feeling very open. And even if we cut the interest there, this whole area seems a little like it's falling a little bit flat. So I'm not saying repaint this picture at all, but when you compose pictures like this in the future, consider when I teach students to do keyframes, something that I talk about a lot is the quadrants. And this is just a projection. Like don't take this as a hard and set rule, but this is one way to structure a picture. You can ask yourself, is there a different thing, a different content idea in every quadrant of this picture? So here we have the ghost. The ghost takes up, say this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 has the chalk outline. 3 is dominated by the detectives. And we can say that 4 is really kind of empty, right? So it kind of has it's kind of missing an opportunity to tell another part of the story. With something that I feel is a keyframe being sort of an overall image that establishes the mood, style, and character, environment, prop design for a project. That tends to feel like a missed opportunity, like it could have gone a little bit farther. And when you mix that thinking with the fact that a lot of your weight is getting compressed over to the right, I think maybe, again, I'm not saying repaint this, but I'm saying next time you compose a picture like this, maybe you'll compose it a little bit differently. But again, a lovely picture. I think you did an excellent job here, Arctic Monkey. Very, very cool. Arctic says, I tried to overweight the picture to make it unstable. Yeah. Well, so there's a technique in cinema where, when we're speaking about instability, right? There's a technique in cinema where if you have a character, why is that not working? Oops, I got the wrong gradient set. Let me fix that. You make them what's called short-sighted, looking just off screen, so that there's really nothing they can look at, and you've got all of this free weight over on the left side of the picture, right? Well, it's in the name of the technique, making them short-sighted, right? That has an emotional impact to make them short-sighted. Here, we're having a little bit of trouble reading, at least I do, reading exactly what the interaction is between the figures in the foreground and the ghost, and with the gun that's on the thing there. So it does feel unstable. You achieved the goal of making the picture unstable, but it doesn't quite communicate what the motivation for that is. When you do this cinema technique, the instability is explicitly to make it feel like the character doesn't know what's coming, like the future is uncertain. They can't see clearly, right? We read that instinctually, and that kind of shot is generally only used at moments of uncertainty in a movie. So again, you achieved instability, but the motivation for it is not 100% clear. I would need to know the story much better to give more direct insight on that, but that's the general way that I think about it. Again, great stuff, Arctic Monkey. Very, very nice. All right, I'm seeing a goblin girl. All right, we got something from Kyle Pearson here. Let's copy. Very nice. A serious goblin lad here. A goblin lass. And we've got Kyle's handles in there.
Yeah. It's going to be Kyle Pearson's art with an underscore on Instagram, and it's going to be Kyle Pearson Art on Twitter.
Very nice, Kyle. So she's got a spider tank top on. So she's like a spider punk goblin lass with 2 butcher knives.
And that dump truck.
As main weapons. All right, Joe said it, not me. Joe
Just saying.
Let the record show that Joe was the one who described it as a dump truck. I would never. I'm not so crass. This is a highfalutin art channel. I would never describe anything as a dump truck. I don't know what to say. I think your goals here have been achieved, Kyle. I think Joe proved that your goals here have been achieved.
I think it's really good that Kyle did a full turnaround. Right?
Yeah, that's nice.
We don't have profile, but that's okay. You don't always need profile.
No, you don't need that.
If this was given to me on a character sculpture assignment, it tells me everything that I need to know.
Yeah, give it the could you sculpt it approval, Joe.
Yeah, I would say absolutely I could sculpt this just by what I have, just the front and the back. I would say that the dimensionality that I'm seeing on the props, the knives / swords, daggers, whatever, there's enough information there, and then also there's enough pose and gesture information for me to be able to recreate this exactly. Or if I was given this and had to come up with a pose myself, it's giving me enough characterization where I could come up with a similar pose based on the characterization that I'm reading in here. So this is, for me personally, this is everything I would need to do to either reproduce it exactly in 3D or to turn around and to be like, have her with the knives doing some sort of crazy tornado kick or throwing a knife or using those big ears or something like, I don't know.
Using those big ears.
Using those big ears being like,
using them for what? Who knows?
To hear.
God only
danger.
knows. Let your imagination drive you.
Yeah.
Let your imagination drive you.
Yeah, I like it. I really like it.
All right, so I will give a couple. I don't know. I always feel silly giving technical notes on stuff like this because I think stuff like this is based mostly on charm, right? It's like technicals and something like this is like, is it really that important? I don't think so. I think as long as it's charming, it has succeeded. But one thing that I'll say is, so if we look at the contrappasto here, which for anyone who has not heard that classic art phrase, which is like one of the first things you learn in, like whenever they discuss art in high school or something like that, it's just setting the shoulders against the hips like that, so that they sort of point in one way. They oppose each other. You have that going here, and you do, so on the front view, I think it works. On the back view, you have it as well, but the way you designed the belts is fighting you on that. That back belt right there, you gotta be very careful for the visual lines that are made by things like belts. People tend to go crazy with things like belts and straps and things like that. And people ignore, they put those all over a design and they ignore that, unfortunately, those are basically lines, and lines lead the eye more than just about anything else. So the fact that the line of that belt basically becomes a perfect horizontal, on my first read when I look at the drawing, it obfuscates the contrapposto that you got on the dump truck in the back view. So I would just take those and make sure that they are instead.
You just casually referring to it as the dump truck.
You know, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm not a good dude. I don't know how else to put it. All right, let's just, I can't, it's so, you see, it's enough of a line that I can't even grab the, okay, there we go. Just tweak that up that way.
After you said contrapposto, someone gave this emoji. And I want to say I'm not triggered by it. I'm here for it.
You guys can't do that when Joe's around. There you go, so that it emphasizes il contrapposto a little bit. One more small technical note. Of a straight line like that on a piece of anatomy, for me, there's very few good reasons to do a flat line like that, especially on a limb, when the opportunity is there to curve it slightly and have that drive the gesture to go blop and then catch it and go blop. I'm a fan of curvier limbs in their overall gesture in most situations, and I think that is reinforced by anatomy in most cases. You know, people get a little hung up on straight against curved when they've heard that principle just a couple times. I would implore you all to think of it as straighter versus curvier, but most pieces of anatomy are still curved, right? So you still get a straight versus curve if this is slightly curved and this is very curved. That still feels like a straight versus curve. So use that to your benefit. Don't be afraid to curve parts of the anatomy that are indeed curved. So a quick adjustment like that, I think that prevents the tricep from getting killed, and it still feels like a bicep, right? Because the bicep does make that shape from the back view. It's not perfectly straight. It has a little bit of curvature to it, right? But it's still straighter than the tricep on the back. Matter of taste, just my personal taste. Thank you so much, Kyle. Wunderbar.
Yeah, our next piece is it's a really nice little landscape by Matot, or at Matot. And it's giving off those impressionistic vibes. Really nice.
Nice. It almost looks like it's painted from a view that you actually know, or something like that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, very nice, Matot. I like that. I like how directly the sky is reflected in the windows over here. Yeah, very nice. Something to consider with, I actually think this is honored here, but just so that people consider it in their own pictures, a reflection, even a perfect reflection, if we're talking like a mirror, even a perfect mirror, perfectly clean mirror, the reflection will be slightly darker than the environment. That's because even though it's a perfect mirror, it is still, the scene is, it's still occurring on an extra bounce of light, right? The scene needs to, instead of the light, the photons from the scene going straight into your eye, they need to bounce off the mirror and then go into your eye. And every time a photon bounces, it will lose energy. And so even off the perfect mirror, it's losing a little bit of energy, but it is losing some, so the scene will be darker overall. I do think it looks like that here. I just wanted to take that opportunity to point that out to other people. You know, it's always a matter of taste, these things, but I do think that the clouds and the buildings are painted the same way right now. There's definitely ways to make that work, but I do think here it's hurting it a little bit. I do wish that there was just a slight handling difference between the clouds and the buildings. That's mostly because where they intersect is where the high contrast is in the picture. Like your eye goes to there, your eye goes to here, your eye definitely goes to there. All of the high contrast areas are intersections of clouds and buildings. So for me, that's begging for contrast and variety there. So you can get crisp edges on the buildings. And then don't be afraid of the airbrush. The airbrush is a beautiful tool.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could opine a little bit on texture through strokes and types of strokes.
So I think you can go as far as you want with texture, with how intense the texture is coming off your brush or that you design. So you see how that little bit of variety, I think, just separates things for the viewers more clearly. You know, you want to have considerations like that for the materiality. Again, it's less important in de-emphasized and lower contrast areas. It's more important to hunt for that contrast in the high contrast areas. To go back to what Joe was asking about texture, if you think about the texture that comes off of a real paintbrush, it's absolutely crazy, right? If you run a loaded oil painting brush across a canvas, you are creating such an immense amount of information that at this point, no computer could really practically track that or simulate that. Programs try, but they can't. It's the insane effluviance of actual reality, right? To me, that means that there is no upper limit to texture. Something can't be too textured, right? The problem is balancing it. It's considerations like what I just said. Texture becomes overwhelming when it's the same everywhere. Designing a picture, composing a picture is about picking what's important and what is less important and letting that drive an arrangement. And that applies to every element of art. So that means that you are emphasizing and de-emphasizing certain lines over others, certain values over others, certain colors over others, the intensity of shape interactions over others, and textures as well. It's repetition, flatness, sameness, that makes something fall back, makes it kind of die, lose energy.
Yeah.
And it's arranging an orchestration of more here, less here. That's what makes it beautiful. And the more precise and subtle you can be about that arrangement, the more breadth you can unlock to what your maximums are. Someone who's very brutish about it will not be able to use as much texture as someone who is refined about it, because they'll be able to balance it better.
So let me put that into a brutish simpleton's terms and see if I'm understanding it or reiterating it in a different way. So in this painting, we're looking at trying to capture the reality of literally the softness of clouds, the fine implications of light, and then the extremely geometric and hard textures of a building. Mm. And the reality of that, then the middle point of expressing that two-dimensionally might be something traditional, let's say an oil paint where you really do get texture on a canvas, building up a three-dimensional sort of a texture that informs those differences, that softness, that hardness, that crispness, that fluffy of the clouds, all that stuff, right? Now, when we're working digitally, essentially, like you're saying, there's no upper limit to the amount of how much texture and detail you could put in, because even at its maximum, you're only going to get close to what you might be able to express in an oil painting. Mm-hmm. And so it's good to work that in there as much as you can with whatever time you're working on. This may have been this may have been a quick sketch. This may have taken many, many hours, but even still, there's no amount of refinement that ends up being too much.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, my friend. I'm also just really quickly, I am creating more of a gradient on the bounce light from the ground up the buildings, just because I do think the contrast of the darkness of the buildings is nice against the sky. You captured the overall effect of how much brighter the sky is than the buildings, but it does feel like it falls a little flat in really wide, undifferentiated areas like that. like this. Feels like you could get a little bit more info in there just to beautify things. So just abusing the bounce light a bit is an easy way to do that. Just letting it be a little lighter at the bottom coming off of the street. If you want it to be more intense, you can always imply stronger light hitting the ground here. Though I don't know if you want to do that because that would imply the sun is higher in the sky than maybe is appropriate for this sunset. But that'll just give you some room to, you can have stuff coming off the buildings, casting soft little shadows and just beautifying things a little bit.
Matot asks, can you send me the edited version later, the draw over?
Yeah, I can save it. I'll have to think about how to get that to you. But, I guess Joe has it in an email, so you could try to... Oh, I'll just send a screenshot to Joe right now, and then, Joe, you can send it back to their email
Yes.
Thank you, Joe, for your help. Everybody say they love Joe. Joe's very kind.
There's a lot of questions in the chat just about how the feedback review process is going to work on this. So, again, this is a test stream. We're actually at the 5th of our 6th test of doing this sort of... review of someone's work and also sending it to them.
And we had the email open for all of maybe 5 minutes or
Nightshade,
something?
yeah, it was 5 minutes, and unfortunately we got some people that we didn't get to, but keep this in mind. So this is a test for Thursday night. On Thursday night, what we're going to do when we go live again is if someone sends us their work, and they've also sent us a screenshot that they have sent a donation over to the GoFundMe for the Concept Artist Association fundraiser for their efforts against AI art. We are going to do this. We're going to go for hours and hours and hours. And for the folks that emailed us that haven't gotten a review yet, I see when you emailed me your work. If you end up sending us proof of that, you guys will end up going first on Thursday because we have the email here, so it should be good to go.
Now, I just want to note for because Joe and I are figuring this out on the fly. So you sent me the first one from Drinkwater about 3:12. So that was about a half hour ago. Yeah. So it took me about a half hour to do 5. So, I'm just going to be realistic with people here. I'm sitting here and doing little notes and real drawovers here. If a lot more people are donating on the actual night, I'm just not going to be able to get that into the weeds with every picture. But we're going to play it by ear.
We'll react and discuss, but
we'll be straight up.
Steve can only draw as fast as he can draw.
Yeah, we'll be straight up with people. My number one thing is that I want to just give people a reaction if I can. It depends how many people are donating. But that said, that also should say donate early.
Yeah, if you donate
if you're going to be around on Nightshade all night, donate
if you
right off the bat.
Early, Wednesday night I'll be able to maybe go in and get some of this stuff done so that when we go live on Thursday, we can just sort of hit the ground running.
Well, no, I'm not saying donate ahead of time. I think it's, just to be clear, it's donations during the show.
Yeah, don't donate ahead of time.
Don't donate ahead of time.
How dare you?
But
Who said that?
No, yeah, you did. But look, donate whenever you want. But
whenever.
Realistically speaking, we can only keep track of what people donate during the show.
That's true.
Because I think that's going to be a lot anyway.
That's true.
If that, we're going to figure this out as we go. But for the way I've thought it's what happens during the show. We're rallying then. So when I say donate early, I mean when the stream starts, you want to be one of the first people to donate when the stream starts.
Yeah.
All right, so
We're going out with a bit of a bang. This is from the Wild Future.
Very nice.
The Wild Future, I don't know if you included your social media handle, but this thing is amazing.
This is super cool. I love to see a pencil drawing. Very nice. I wonder how big this is. A lot of my considerations about pencils and traditional has to do with scale and size. I like the delicacy. I feel like delicacy is something that is lacking in pencil drawings that I see online these days. So I really like how delicate it feels. It looks like you use some kind of powdered graphite or maybe a pan pastel. I use pan pastel when I want to do soft areas like this, this whole background area. It's possible you just did it with the pencil, but it's nice to see you integrating that. So my main note right now is that the dragon looks a little low contrast compared to what is going on with the nights. So this, I believe, this contrast range is clicking for me. I do think, and this is a pain in the ass in pencil, but the darker your background goes, the nicer the picture is going to feel overall, because it's in a cave. It's supposed to be a scary, sort of hardly illumined environment, right? A total pain in the butt in pencil, I understand that, but I want you to know that it is absolutely possible. Okay, Glass Memory says it's 11 by 14 inches, combo of graphite and charcoal. Okay, so at 11 by 14, it will take you a long time, and you might not have practiced this, so it may take longer, you may make some mistakes, but for my money, I talk to people in my course about this all the time. I think you should get used to making very dark backgrounds very early, because you can do them very, very beautifully. Let me show you some, do I have a best of folder in here? Give me 1 second. Excellent examples, crap. Nope, that's a digital. Sorry, I on my old computer I had these organized, but I don't here. Let me make this very large. Okay, so this is someone who has not been doing stuff like this for very long. Look at that flat jet black background. You can learn how to do this with a bit of persistence and determination, and this was for an assignment, right? So it's not like they're doing it for a piece that's gonna be in their portfolio forever, right? Very nice background. Graphite, you can get very flat handling if you find a good tool that you like. And that's an exceptionally dark one. You know, the photo might be helping it, but I have tons of examples of people doing very nice, flat, dark backgrounds in pencil. I would put in the effort to learn how to do that, because it will unlock a whole slew of compositional possibilities for pencil that are hidden or gated off from people who don't want to learn how to do that or won't put in the effort to figure it out. So I would advise you to learn how to do that. This picture, like I said, I think it would only get better the darker that background would become. And it would just make the light coming off of the torches more dramatic, more powerful. Charcoal, I know you said this is a mix. Charcoal goes very dark, but I also know from personal experience, because the darker it gets, the messier it gets, right? So you can do it with just a graphite pencil as well, but if you can control the dirt, go for the charcoal, because it'll go to black faster. Like I said, I think that'll also help you get the contrast on the dragon just right. For me, I feel like this picture hinges on having a glow coming from the torches, right? It wants to feel like they are stumbling upon the dragon in the dark. And right now the lighting on the dragon doesn't really emphasize the glow coming from the torches. It would naturally want sort of the back of his neck to be darker. The wings are okay, they're kind of going with it. How you doing, Joe? Are you happy?
Yeah, man. I'm so what I'm thinking to myself is that what would be tricky for me would be balancing heightening the contrast there, and then also still speaking to the three-dimensionality of the dragon itself. Well, because the dragon is hiding behind the corner there. So how do we maybe feign that illusion a little bit and keep that sort of suspension of disbelief?
Well, it's a very tough thing to pull off with the limited value range of pencil. I think if you wanted it to turn that corner, I mean, if you wanted it to feel like it was hidden completely behind the corner, you'd have to darken the whole field here. The other thing is that all firelight is actually super dim. You know, if you next time you're around a campfire with your friends, stop drinking, take a break from your happiness and being social with people that you love, and remember art, which is the most important thing. Pull back, become a transparent eyeball, and notice that even people who are 3 feet away from the fire are actually very dark when compared with the flame of the fire. Firelight is super weak. So if you wanted it to feel like it was coming around the corner, I would kind of darken the whole thing, and you would basically have to render the dragon in like a reflected light value range, which I think is crazy. I think instead, to go for what Joe would want there, it would require a recomposition of the picture, or else you'd be sort of fighting against it a lot. I could be wrong. There's creative solutions
still,
everywhere.
I mean, it's art, and we can lie.
Yeah, but
we can tell tasteful lies, and we can keep high contrast and three-dimensionality, and we could just be like, you know what? There's maybe a secondary light source you don't see in the drawing itself, and that's okay too. Sometimes,
yes.
you know, like.
For sure.
We're trying to build drama with a piece like this. We're trying to build drama. This is like a keyframe, or this is like this is a moment. This is a moment captured there. So, I really like it so much. It's so nice.
It's a lovely drawing.
It's so delicate. I really like it. Underdog Rising says, I take funguses and see art everywhere. I'm not going to say that word on stream. Yes, don't be happy, guys, and look at things hard.
Like really hard.
Saman.
So I think if you sort of push the contrast into the dragon like this a little bit, you see how, one, that implies more strongly that the light is coming just from the torches, right? It's not 100% authentic to exactly what torchlight would do in this situation, but it's just more organized towards the torchlight rather than what you have, which we could sort of believe that there's sort of, with this lighting, we could sort of believe there's another light source basically coming from us, from the camera, like straight on, or even with how bright the back of the neck is, we could almost believe that there's another light source coming from here, right? Which, again, that could be a choice, but it just feels like the torchlight is the emphasis. So if we organize like this, that gets to it more directly. And I also think that it sets you up to have more dramatic secondary shape values and shadow shapes on the actual dragon itself. You can see if I click it off again, you've got very soft gradations, which, as I said, are delicate and beautiful and are an essential part of doing a pencil drawing. But you get a little bit more punch, pizzazz, Yahoo, and how when you get some of these larger, darker cast shadow shapes onto the form as well. And then it lets you get some of those classic like serpentine shadow shapes that you see like over the eye, underneath the zygomatic, or I don't know if a snake's skull has a zygomatic technically, but you get to push those shadow shapes a little bit more, make it look a little bit more menacing. So for my money, I would say it's a great start. Consider continuing to push it darker, more high contrast, and to fight for the mood on this one. What is this song? I know you can't hear this, Joe, but a very weird song just started playing.
Yeah, look at that. That nice vignette pulls it all together, and then it brings the focus back into your heroes too.
Oops, too strong.
Yeah, it's great. If this was a chapter illustration in a Lord of the Rings or a Hobbit book, you know, this was a chapter 4 illustration at the beginning of chapter 4. I'd love it. It'd be that would be one of my favorite versions.
And then, yeah, you can keep pushing. As you reorganize the contrast, that just gives you more opportunities to reorganize it on these knights as well.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's a big ask from pencil. I want to acknowledge that. Like I said, it's hard to go dark in pencil, but it's worth it because very few people will do it. So your pencil drawings will stand out.
You know, the other thing is, and I know you've done this more than a few times too, Steve, you know, you could always do your first best pass in pencil, and if you're going to scan it anyway, you could throw it into Photoshop, and then you could work all these contrasts like this very quickly.
Yeah,
And that's fine. That can be part of your process. There's no rules against it.
And I would say that if you're gonna do a lot of pictures in pencil that have complicated value lifts like this, which I do often, you should get used to putting them into Photoshop and doing tests like what I'm doing now, testing them in Photoshop or some other, it could be a free editing software, to do your thinking in there, just to quickly try out a few things. And then, you save that to your phone. You can have that open while you work and try to move towards that big value plan. Because the thing is, pencil, even charcoal, it sort of forces you to have small thoughts. You think at the scale of the tip of the pencil. So it's useful to supplement that with a medium that makes you have big thoughts. Digital does both, right? Because it sort of doesn't have a structure. But digital definitely gives you big thoughts. So does something like oil painting or doing small gouache paintings, things like that. Something that just makes it easier to organize overall values and then sort of work to that with the smaller tool. And I think that this is a really big note. I think some sort of addition like this, maybe like a giant floating Stephen head also looming in the cave. And I think it would be good if that was bigger than the dragon as well, bigger than the knights and the dragon, to make clear that Stephen is more powerful than either the dragon or the explorers. I think that would be a very useful addition. I think that's all of them, right, Joe?
Yeah, so there's, of course, a bunch on backlog. We got like...
Let's take a couple more. You want to do a couple more?
We'll do a couple more.
Okay. A couple more on backlog?
Emma
Let's do 2 more.
Blomskog asks, if we already sent today, do we need to send another next stream?
I would say yes, because I just want it to stay... I want it to be easy for us organizationally. Okay. I would say, yeah, resend. This is just a test. Resend on Nightshade all night. I don't want them, but if we start with a backlog, then it just makes it more confusing for the people who are there for the actual Nightshade all night event. They don't know why they're not, they're not in the queue right off the bat. I just want it to be clean and simple for everybody. Like, we've started the stream, queue starts now, we're off to the races,
Okay, I'm gonna do another one. Maybe
Sure.
we'll do another couple or whatever. But I'm feeling it. Are you feeling it?
Yeah, I'm having fun. I love looking at people's art. I love looking at people's art.
Okay, we are nightshading another piece. This next one is from Johnny the Artsy Fart. So I'll be ready in a couple of seconds here.
No problem.
There was another question, the email address. We're going to throw the email address up again. If you missed it, don't worry, but we're going to throw the email address up again for the next stream, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, you already have stuff in the email. So okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll for next stream, don't worry about it. We'll throw the email up again for that. So far this is a successful test, man.
Yeah, this is just a fun thing to do. I mean, I like doing stuff like this. I don't do it because, as you can see, it's very difficult admin-wise. It'd be impossible to do this without somebody helping me.
Yeah. You need another person or to do it beforehand, or
thank goodness for you.
And then you're not drawing your own stuff when you do this. So that the little bit, I'm not gonna play martyr here and be like the sacrifice, but like the trade-off here is like Steve's not drawing his own stuff today. Ooh, Fanny, hello. Hello, excuse me. There's a little puppy. Hello. She smells my dog. Okay, Mark, I did get your email. You would be after this next person. All right, Nightshade successful.
Where did that screenshot that I just took go?
Steve, you are ready to go for our next person, and then actually Mark is up next.
I'm trying to send you the dragon I just drew, but I lost the screenshot.
You send me that dragon, damn you.
Didn't I just take this? Allow important notifications from the snipping tool. Shut up. Important notifications from the snipping tool. I can't believe that Windows would dare to spit those words at me. All right, I sent you back the dragon with the very important edit up top. Johnny the Arts, is that a Stanley Cup? Jesus. Jesus. Oh my God. I don't know why this is not. Let me get the proper image size. All right, from Johnny the Artsy Fartsy, we have. I'm too old to know exactly what this is, but I think the Stanley Cup is big with influencers right now, right? They've all got this weird coffee mug.
Oh yeah.
And I take
Midwest moms.
I take it that they're all fighting for the Stanley Cup.
The cup of power, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. Johnny the Artsy Fartsy, I think if that was your intention here, I've got to grade this 100 out of 100 in those regards. You did exactly what you were looking for here. All right. Let's give some notes on a meme. Notes on a meme. That sounds like the name of a movie or something like that. Or a play.
Punk rock band name. Notes on a meme.
Notes on a meme.
No, emo band. Notes on a meme.
Notes on a meme, the emo band. I'm so alone, can cat has cheeseburger.
Tonight would be the night that I would glaze for you.
You're the worst. You're the worst. All right, this is the point of emphasis. I think the tension is a little slammed up to the top of the frame right now. I think that it would be a little bit more comfortable on the eye if you just had a little bit more headroom on that baby there. It's classic tangents in art. It just feels even when people want a picture to feel intentionally uncomfortable, it is rarely people's desire that it be like visually uncomfortable to look at just because of tangencies. That's usually not what people are trying to do with intention. People want a weird emotional feeling to a picture. But they don't generally want it to be annoying to look at. People want a picture to be nice to look at, even if it conveys a difficult situation or something like that. So I would just give yourself a little bit of headroom there. I hope you can see that that does make a difference, considering that there is such a singular focus on the picture. Color-wise, and I do think this is probably my main note on the picture, it does look a little strange that the ambient fill on all of the bodies is red. That's my interpretation. Maybe you were just trying to paint typical flesh color and just the way things drifted for you, it wound up cast very red. But to me, it feels like these hands, these arms are in a red environment. There's an ambient red fill light, right? Now, that is in conflict with the fact that the background is basically its complete complement, sort of a teal mint green, right? It's totally possible that if we were to pull the camera back a lot, there would be a very red environment right underneath the crop on our side of the camera, like closer to the camera. There might be, for all we know, there's red stage lights blasting from right behind the viewer that are filling that in red. But without any cues for that within the picture, stuff like that does tend to look a little weird. So for example, I think you will see, by contrast, that if I just roughly slug more red into the background, the picture will feel more unified. Right? Now the red that's in the flesh tones just makes more sense to the eye. It takes them down a peg, makes it feel like the color circulation is happening correctly. And that is just because within the picture, we are giving the proper physical cues for such an overpowering color cast to the flesh. If the environment was mostly red, dominated by red, or if it was an apocalyptic red light, we would get tons of red ambient fill into the flesh color. Now, you don't need to do that exactly because, it gets more boring and things like that. But you could try to sneak it in, like maybe there's more of a gradient to the background. It could be more red at the bottom. And transition up to green at the top. You could flip that situation. Or You could do what you started to do here with some of these pale colors that are coming in as rim light onto these arms, and just let that fill in the shadows a little bit more. Now that would be a heavy lift painting wise, so I'm not really gonna be able to do a full version of that, but even just an ugly slug. You can always test colors by doing these ugly slugs of them, right? That unifies the picture much more, I think you can tell. And the alternative is that you could imply what I just said, that there is something off camera that is producing the red cast. So you could imply right up against the camera, you know, licking flames that are burning these heathens. A familiar physical cue. So if you were thinking, all right, there's fire underneath them, that's very nice for you, but is that actually getting communicated to the audience? Not necessarily. So if you hit them over the head with it and literally draw some flames, now that red, it'll sort of make a little bit more sense how it can fight against the teal green that's in the background. Mind you, the teal green is really the problem here because they're basically complementary to each other, those two colors. Red and blue / cyan fight each other in additive systems. So for the red to be that present when there is a green fill light in the environment, there's really got to be a good justification for that. They're all after that Stanley Cup. Yes, they are. But again, those are notes on a meme. And do memes really need to be technical?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, that was my thought too, which is, you know, when you take good technical application like this, and then you apply something that's in the culture, and especially if you're skewering it, which I think this is satirical. Obviously, this is satirical.
Yeah.
And you're skewering it like this. This is the type of thing, you know, you're showing that you're really thinking about the world that's around you. You're applying the technical abilities that you have, and that's the type of stuff that, you know, that's the type of stuff that Warhol became famous for. It's the type of stuff that, you know, that ended up, you know, driving a lot of what was culturally important in the last century, and that's important. That stuff doesn't go away, man. So that ability to sort of talk about what goes on around us is something that's useful, and it's a really, really important part of art, I think. So I love this. I absolutely love this. This to me made me laugh and giggle and think the way that an SNL sketch does, you know, in the best way. So I love it. Great job.
The reviews are in, baby. All right, Johnny. It is Johnny. Was it Johnny Pearson? Do I have the name? No, Johnny the Artsy Fartsy. Sorry, we had a Johnny Pearson earlier. Johnny the Artsy Fartsy. Keep it up. Keep painting those memes.
Yeah, man.
Keep painting those memes. I'm putting the licking flames back because, you know, I like to see influencers being incinerated.
Next up, we have a monster design by Games by Mark Wolf.
Games by Mark Wolf.
And I want to ask Mark, maybe Mark, you could let me know. Mark, do you do designs for, are your games essentially tabletop role-playing games or something like that? Because this monster sort of speaks to that to me a little bit. And the first thing that jumps out to me is that if this was a monster in a sort of D&D style monster manual or something like that, I just right off the bat, if I'm seeing it for that reason and I'm being asked to sculpt, you know, a miniature for it, I do want to see a turnaround. Which of course, like, who wants to see the backside of a monster? But the backside of a monster is important because as you face it towards your players, you know, it's a three-dimensional asset. It's something that, you know, is imposing. So if the stretch for you is to draw the same monster front and back and profile, then that would probably be the thing that I would want to see, especially if we were working on a game together.
Yeah.
That's my initial thought. But this thing is scary as hell. I would want to see this in the corner of my room, you know, when I wake up. So.
It is very scary. I want to ask Mark if this is meant to be for a pixel art game or something along those lines.
Yeah, let us know what it's for.
Yeah, to me it reads very specifically like it's going, like it needs to be within a pixel art context. So I don't want to crit it just as a drawing without knowing if it's intentionally supposed to be like for pixel art kind of a thing. Jerry, I don't know if I can put that on YouTube.
Yeah, can we cover part of it and then we can...
Let me blank my screen. This is another thing we'll have to be sure to tell
It's
people.
really
like,
good and tasteful. I'm not sure
it is.
if
I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's tasteful. But YouTube doesn't care about taste. They'll let people do. I mean, as long as you're an actual person, you can get away with just about any amount of nudity you want. But God help you if you post any naked art.
Okay, so Mark got back to us and wrote, this piece was just a character concept for a kaiju series I'm writing, but I may do a source book for it at some point. Okay.
Give me 1 second. I'm censoring.
Excuse us, guys. We are censoring.
Just for the record, on actual Nightshade All Night Night, I will probably not do anything that is showing full nudity, just because the algorithms are stupid. I mean, dude, my TikTok got completely suspended deleted, really. My TikTok got deleted for monster butts, when TikTok is mostly debauchery. That's most of what people are doing on TikTok. It's just it's people dancing as scantily clad as possible and just flat out porn. It's like, God help you draw a monster butt. I was like, and every monster butt I got warned for, I was like, well, they can't hate this monster butt. They did. They hated them all, and they deleted my account. The algorithms are very bad with art.
Sorry for the dead air, guys. I am just nightshading another piece, so we can just keep having a little more fun.
All right, we are looking at mock woofs. All right, so not necessarily pixel art, definitely done with like the pencil brush. So I think the most general note I could give here is that it's very same value all over, and it's especially because your games by Markov. It's very difficult for me to not interpret this in a game context. Kaiju series, you said, but like readability is big here, and values do a lot for readability. So right now it's basically all one gray and black and just a little spot of white in the eyes. I think you could spread more value change all over. So if I just get I'm going to show this with sort of soft value changes. I know you're doing everything hard edged, but just try to translate what I'm saying here to that. So I'm doing a screen layer. So if I just go in and on the tops of all the muscle forms, now this is getting value change by doing lighting, right? This gives me an opportunity to pop the head off of the body. Notice that your head is buried inside the body, right? Blur your eyes at this design, and notice that if you blur your eyes a lot, you can lose the head, right? There's so many lines going on all around. The shape of the head is not so different from the other things around it. The texture, that crinkly texture, is equally applied over the whole design. You can lose the head except for those two tiny dots of white, right? Generally, we don't want that for clarity. Two solutions. The one that I'm showing here, get more value change to allow you to pop things off. A very crude job I'm doing right now. You can see that makes it, again, it doesn't look nice right now, but it's impossible to miss the head, right? It's giving you a value shape up there. Or the more first things first equation, but this is a design problem too, is you move the head onto the contour so that it breaks the contour clearly, right? If I had the head all the way out here, ignoring design requirements, again, ignoring design requirements, Now if you squint, it doesn't matter that you've squinted your eyes all the way down, right? You can't lose the head. The ears and everything pop out. So it's up to you as a designer when you do things like this, how am I going to retain the important things about the design? Do I want to pop important things onto the silhouette? You know, like the little shell there is popping off the silhouette. That makes it impossible to miss. Or am I going to try to get it by doing value changes like that? And then again, it depends on the handling, but the value changes can go into just full painting, right? Where's a nasty texture brush that I can use that will honor the texture here? God, I hate texture brushes. Just use that. It's like you use form and value change to compose for the things that matter. So again, it's like, yes, you're moving towards full painting.
And using those value changes really helps to load up the gesture so that way it really looks like that creature's about to spring from that squatted position. Makes those limbs really look loaded with potential energy.
The idea is everything that you add painting-wise is trying to force attention where you need it to go. So value changes are keeping, again, you squint at that, the head disappears. You squint at that, you can't miss the head. And so that was through lighting, and I'm not going to display the other option, but the other option is local value changes. Instead of worrying about having the different values of light creating variety on the form, just do local value changes and have that do the difference. So for example, if his head was white and the rest of his body was black, no lighting involved, just local colors as if you skinned him, that would emphasize the important design elements in general.
Steve, just two things I want to talk about before we get away from this, especially because the design execution, almost purposely, I think is simple. So I think these two things are worth bringing up. The first one is that when we talk about silhouette, go back to squinting your eyes. The entire silhouette it's a solid, basic triangle, right? So if you're going to do a redraw, or you're going to do a repaint, or you're going to do a second version of this, I would actually lean harder into that triangle, and I would likely add extra triangles in other places, or I would maybe I would do a version where maybe I'm elongating that triangle or flattening that triangle further. You know, I would go further into an isosceles or even wider out, something like that, right? The only other thing that I would say besides that, and keeping the shape design in mind when it comes to the small forms and the large forms in terms of what your shape design is I would say you can turn around and especially this is supposed to be a kaiju. Now, you've told us it's a kaiju, and I believe you. But one way you could illustrate that to us without having to say the word kaiju ever is drop a stick figure in for scale. Drop a stick figure in just so that way we know, like, you know, if a person is only as tall as its claws, you drop a person in there and you told us everything we need to know without having to draw a cityscape or without having to draw buildings or this thing tearing through a wall or whatever. You drop a person and we know this thing means business and it's 50 feet tall. Or contrast, you draw a person and if it dwarfs the monster, then I know that you know, it's the size of a gremlin from the movie Gremlins, you know. So you may want to think about that. You know, that can change the feel and add an element of danger or cuteness depending on the scale you choose. You know, so that little guy there, you could blow that guy up and now this is like a demented cat. Or, oh my goodness, and you said you were going to try nudity. Okay. And then at the same time, I didn't actually see the stick figure until you blew it up. Please don't blow it up. Or you keep it small.
I think the kaiju's that big.
Yeah, I think he's humongous, right? Like I think he's kaiju size, so he's like the size of a freaking. No.
All right.
How dare you, sir?
I hope that was helpful to you, Mark.
Yeah, man.
I really do.
Who's the real monster?
All of my kaiju too also have skin texture that are based on tree bark. Be very careful about that because texture forces a scale read on things. So people assume something like tree bark is one size. You have to do a really heavy design lift to make them think, okay, this tree bark is much bigger than the tree bark you're used to. So this is just a, when you're doing design, you get these conflicting design element dissonances very often, and this is the bread and butter of doing good design work. That will fight, those two ideas will fight each other. As you make the kaiju bigger and bigger and bigger, and you want people to believe it's the size of it's taller than a skyscraper, no one assumes tree bark would occur at that scale where you would see it in the drawing where it makes sense. Then every little furrow in the tree bark would be the size of like a car. And so visually, the audience's mind is going to have a lot of trouble accepting that. So maybe you would only show the tree bark texture on the kaiju at the most close-up shots if you're just looking at its face. But at the scale that you view its whole body, you would never read that texture. It would just smooth out. You've got to be very careful with that. It's very difficult to make people read a particular texture as different from what the size they know it to generally be. It's like there's a little bit of variation, like the furrows on the tree bark on the tree that's outside your house are, okay, all of the trees that are outside all of our houses, their tree bark is generally the same scale. But the tree bark on a giant sequoia in Sequoia National Park, it is bigger. It does literally have larger furrows, larger individual elements to the tree bark, but that is exceptional. That is a rare exception to the rule. So to scale that up even beyond giant sequoia size is going to fight the design intent in the eye of the viewer. I'm going to leave that there. Let's go to the next one. But I think that'll be an important thing for you to grok. I would advise you to tone down the texture on full body shots for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Great work, too.
I do want to give Jerry LaCour his props here for this nice little painting.
Yeah.
I unfortunately have to butcher it just because of the nature of the internet that we all exist in. But
such a nice anatomy study and value study. It's gorgeous work.
Yeah, I think this is very nice. If I had to give you something to think about, Jerry, I would ask, like, you know, is that lamp on in the background? It looks like you started implying that the lamp is on. I'm very big on lighting. It's one of the first things that I always try to address in a picture. If the lamp is on, you might want to compose more to emphasize that. Why is my brush not working? You know, so if we know, sorry. Okay, there we go. So we know if we want some light coming off the lamp, we would need to darken, and rooms are very dark in general, in actuality, most rooms, unless you've got them lit up for something like a live stream or something like that. We might darken the room just a tad to let the light from the lamp pop off a little bit, and then that would give us an excuse to use it as a bolder secondary light on things like her hair. Again, this might totally not be your intention. I'm just saying it's an option. I would always leave the light from outside to be more powerful than even coming through a window, even if it's not direct sunlight. Always let the light from outside be more powerful than the light that's coming from an internal light source, like a lamp. They're actually very weak. Again, you might have different intents for the picture. The lamp might not mean to be on. It's just something to consider. In that vein, one of the main things that makes, so look at the lighting behind me and Joe, right? This feels amateur, right? It doesn't feel like it's in a movie, right? One of the things that makes lighting in a room look cinematic, makes it look like a real production studio put effort into it, is that the walls are darker than you would get if you started filming a movie in your house right now. And that's because they put wraps around the lights on a movie set so that the light focuses on more on the characters that are on camera and comes off the walls, because walls are just really big reflectors, and if we're trying to compose the image, we rarely want them to be so bold and light. So you can consider pushing that to get a little bit more of a cinematic feel in any piece that has interiors. All right, let us look at what Slight Anxiety has sent. All of these images have been nightshaded, by the way. So if you feel like you're not seeing a lot of artifacts, good job, Nightshade.
Because it's good.
And again, Nightshade, for anybody who's just joining and didn't hear this at the beginning, Nightshade does tend to have less artifacts than Glaze, because Glaze is a defense, Nightshade is not, so it's less risky if Nightshade doesn't achieve its full poison potential. So they let Nightshade run with lower perturbance than Glaze. Glaze, it's more risky to have Glaze not actually protect your work, so they have a threshold on it where it's got to run at higher levels. Slight Anxiety, this is a very disturbed and scary picture, and I like it a lot because I like scary and disturbing things. But you are a scary and disturbed person, that's clear. Our art 100% maps to our personalities, right? 100%. Let me crop this right quick. What notes could I give on this? I think for the overall mood of being disturbing and off-putting, nailed it. I mean, yeah, it does definitely feel creepy. I feel like the uplighting could probably be a bit more emphasized. It's tricky because you're going for both the uplighting and the scary, so you want the really deep, dark, hollow eyes. Like, my impulse with uplighting is always to get light under the brows. Sorry, I got distracted by something. Got distracted by fixing the music level. I always want light under the brows. Darken top of the cheek plane. But that might fight. In this case, that might fight those deep sockets that you want. So I'm not 100% sure that that's the way that you want to go, but I would. Am I misreading this? No, I do think you want uplighting because you've got this iconic little dark shadow at the top of the nose here. So I do think that you're going for the uplighting. I would just push it more if you want. You know, you can get a bolder up plane on that part of the chin. Hunt for it in areas like this. Get that wrap right under the nose. The nose is correct, that's fine. Get nice uplighting on the nose. Soften that edge a bit. Don't be afraid to let the shadows just shoot up, right? Here you got the uplighting shadow on the top of the nose, but it looks like you got a little scared. You were like, there's no way it could go all the way up there. It's like, yes, it could. Yes, it definitely could. Could go all the way up there. So I always think it's better to start going bold. So just let that shadow run up. Those furrows on the brow are probably not as important as the overall light impression. So don't be afraid to lose them.
So I am told this is a fan art piece.
Oh yeah, I always never realize that because I don't watch much media that people do fan art of.
I love it. You know, the only thing that this whole thing makes me think of is that if my only note is that I would want to see more of the character. You know, I would want to see additional paintings. I would want to see full bodies. I would want to see the thing doing whatever creepy thing or horrible thing it does.
Do you know the character, Joe, by any chance?
No, I don't. But maybe someone could drop it in chat. I think Saman might have said it's a fan art. Somebody said this earlier.
I don't know what the design of the character is, but right now it feels like, if I'm reading the gum lip distinction correctly here, it feels like the upper lip is dark and the lower lip is light. So I don't know if that's an oversight in the lighting or if that's actually the design of the character. It could be the local value design. I'm gonna edit it so that both lips are dark.
It's a giant sculpture demon thing.
Giant sculpture demon. You're my boyfriend. You're my boyfriend. Giant sculpture demon. I choose you. Marry me, baby. Marry me, baby. I don't need friends or my wife. All I need is a giant sculpture demon. That's what I always wanted. It's illegal to marry them, and that's the only thing that's held me back. So I had to pick a human. But I'll change my mind and annul my marriage if I can marry a giant sculpture demon. Is that the name of the show, or is that the actual character? I know you little, I know. Why are we being so boring? Where's your dinner? It's not your dinner. No, you're a half hour early. You are, call me, you little dog. Oh, you didn't pee. That's what you're upset about. Well, just hold on a minute. You're gonna be all right. Me and Uncle Joe will walk you soon enough. Okay, so I'm getting a little caught up here because I like doing underlighting. But let's see if I just turn this on and off here for a second. I swear to God I'll stop in a second. I think those changes emphasize the underlighting quality a little bit more, right? You see that? It's always hard when you've got to do a particular character because extreme lighting will fight what tends to be the familiar forms that we know for that character, so it'll tend to take a lot of balancing. But really, in general, for underlighting, let the cast shadows go bold. Let them be bigger than you're comfortable with. Let them go farther than you're comfortable with. Underlighting extreme lighting does actually produce very weird shapes in reality, so you want to honor that in your pieces. Thank you so much, Slight Anxiety. And we're coming up on 2 hours here, so I'm gonna say this next one will be our last one. And we are gonna call it after that. We'll talk for a bit, but I want to definitely, I get caught up. I love helping people out, but we gotta save some for the fundraiser. Joe, what the hell? We're giving it away for free over here?
We're giving it away for free, bud.
What the f are we thinking?
Well, what do we have left? We only have 3 left from the test pool. We could give a simple reaction and shout those people out for being a big help.
I could do it fast. And I want to,
but
we're done.
You don't have to give draw-overs. You don't have to give draw-overs.
But we're done. No more now.
No mas.
No, we're done.
No mas.
This is from
Sarrow for fun.
Sarrow for fun.
Now, I don't know if that's your social media handle, Sarrow for fun, but let us know.
Yeah. Throw the throw your handle into the chat.
Throw it up in the chat.
If that's not it. Good start here. I like this. I'm going to assume that this isn't finished because things like the like the leaves are not colored in. But I think that this is a very good start. I don't feel the need to super critique anything that's going on here just because it's so clearly in progress. You know, you're still laying in local colors and all of that. I will just say, to give you warning as you move forward, because I see that you're implying rendering here. It looks like you're going to try to go for the render just because I'm seeing some shadows laid in areas. If this is outdoors, right? This is a forest scene. Get the background in there early if you're going to put the background in. Do not get too caught up picking values, picking colors, and orchestrating them off of each other before the overall light impression of the outdoor scene is slugged in. So get what you're going to use for the field of the forest, for the ground, if you're going to see any of the sky. Are you going to do midday, noon, sunset, things like that? Because outdoor light is way more powerful than you think it is. So the example that I like to give to people all the time is next time you're driving in the middle of the day, turn your headlights on. Turn them on and off in broad daylight and see if anything changes. Nothing changes. It doesn't affect anything. Sunlight and skylight are so overpowering than even, you know, the headlights on your car are way brighter than any of the lamps in your home or likely any other local light source you're likely to interact with in your day-to-day environment. So even those will change nothing about the environment in front of you on broad daylight. Outside natural light is way more powerful than most people think it is. So it tends to overpower local value considerations, local color considerations, typical shadow decisions, things like that. So you want to slug it in there early and be able to assess your value and color choices. My gut tells me that what you have set in here right now, if you were to imply a broad daylight sky, let me see if select subject will give me a quick mask of this, if it's worth doing. Crunch the numbers, baby. If you were to get a bright sky in the background here, skies always have a gradient, darker up top, lighter towards the horizon. I don't know what time of day you were planning on doing. I'm just implying some typical
time of day?
Sky, I'm just doing like the typical sky gradient and then the base colors for a forest. So browns and greens laid in there somewhere. So I think you can see, for me, against a bright sky, the greens that you chose, some of these darks, they actually feel too dark to me, right? You can change that as you do the value choices. But to me, I think they feel darker than you'd actually want to go to get a brilliant light effect. Especially on, you know, if that's armor, that's mostly going to be dominated by reflections. So you're going to also want to have the colors laid in for the environment so that you can do the reflections on the armor as well. So that's just my main piece of advice for moving forward. Don't leave the background behind and consider how the ambient light is going to affect all of your armor here. Like even though that's green, if it's green, you know, it's going to get pulled towards blue by the skylight. Out in the edges, bluer and bluer as it gets brighter and brighter. And then grass and dirt is actually really dark, so some of these areas in here will get much darker than you might expect. High contrast effects for metal. Like that starts to feel reflective, right? That starts to feel like a reflective piece of armor. And if it's green metal, that's difficult because, you know, metal's color speculars and things like that. But that starts to feel shiny and metallic right away. And that's not based on abstract value choices. That's based on the ambient light situation. So
that feels
consider
magical. The moment you can start to make a texture surface reflective and using that non-metallic metal effect, it's awesome.
The magic of lighting, baby.
2 notes on my end. One is that now I don't want to pretend I'm a weapon specialist, but so my one thing that I'm noticing there is that sword is right next to your character. That style of sword would actually be much longer. That style of sword would probably be much longer, which is actually a good thing, because if that sword was longer and still pointed in the ground at the same angle, then the tree and the sword would give you sort of an upside down V shape, which would frame the character nicely within it. So you may want to think about the fact that you could take that bastard sword and you could lengthen it, and it would give you a little bit of a compositional change, which might frame your character in a really nice way. And that's just something that jumps out at me. But I will also say that the line work is beautiful. I really like all of the
it's a very good start.
Implied. It's really nice.
It's a very, very good start.
It's very delicate in nature, and I really dig that.
All right, let us go to the next one. So I'm just going to give quick reactions on the 2 that we have.
I knew I was going to do that accent at some point.
Gray Saint Art. That was evil. We shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You've done nothing but
that's
bring
for
down the hammer of drama on us.
That's for the old heads.
The old heads, like 2 months ago. This is very nice. This is very nice. I like this. I like the color. We've been talking about color circulation on a lot of these, and this has nice color circulation.
Yeah.
I'm seeing good stuff here. I like seeing the glow from the heads onto the flesh there.
I did mandala on the sleeve and the South Asian jewelry and all that stuff. It's really, really cool.
Nice. Good job. I'm going to leave it at that.
Great gesture and everything.
Oh, and our last one is from Emma Blomskog. That's a shame I don't have more time for her. Emma's a student of mine. She took my workshop a while ago. Very nice, Emma. What a cute and compelling little character. How strange.
Yeah, and I know Emma left, but I'm gonna drop Emma's Instagram handle in the chat if you guys want to go give her a follow. Such a nice and well executed character.
Yeah, so strange.
God.
Yeah. I wish she was here to tell us more. I love strange. Strange is weird. I like the sword. I like the needle thin blue sword. This character seems very familiar. Is this from something? Is this a piece of fan art or anything? Did she say anything?
If this isn't fan art, this is professional, man. I would watch any story with this little dude in it.
Yeah, she knows how to do compound stuff because she goes to an animation school. She's thinking about stories all the time. Yeah, very nice, Emma. If I had to give something to think about, I think maybe just go all the way with the character, like bring it all the way down to the edge of the page. Just presentation-wise, it doesn't feel like the vignette doesn't feel super compelling right now. Like it doesn't feel very motivated or like it adds much to sort of just fade it out right there at the bottom.
Yeah.
I think it just makes the leg feel kind of stubby when to me this is a very long character, long arms, long neck. So I would want to continue to see that emphasized. So I would at least pull the crop or draw the character out so that the legs can continue to emphasize that design theme. Let the legs be long, just like everything else, or just pull all the, same thing goes for the sword. I think the sword wants to have the long quality of the rest of the design, or just pull the camera back or pull the crop out and just do a full illustration head to toe of the character. I think that would fight some of the weirdness of the crop there and make things feel a little bit more natural. But ultimately, it's up to you. I don't think you need to do a full head to toe. That's a particular designish vibe, but I think at least pull it down low enough that the legs can feel long as well to jive with the long arms, the long neck, the long sword, etc.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah.
We did it, Joey boy.
Yeah, we did it, and the workflow was good. I feel like we did a good job of making sure the people got gotten to. Damn, y'all are quick in chat. That email filled up quick. I got very, we'll probably look at it later, but I got very overwhelmed. I saw them fill up and I went, I'm going to go quiet for a minute.
That's
so,
funny.
yeah, it worked out great, man.
I hope that, I think on Thursday night, I am hopeful it will stay balanced because it won't just be send us the stuff, you know, we'll be doing it for the donations for the fundraiser. So I think that will balance it out a bit, and we'll be going for a while and trying to do as much as we can.
Yeah, the talent pool is insane, man. I never, so I know that you have access to the folks that are in your Discord and in your course and whatever, and I see the Discord and stuff, but man, the talent pool on your viewers is it's pretty intense, man. This is some pro stuff. You folks are not fooling around.
They work hard.
Yeah, they really, really do. So that's excellent. Everything from Colombo Space Heater to all these beautiful lighting studies and all this good character work. It's really great, man.
Nice stuff.
What else goes on? We got.
I guess I'll just answer questions in the chat for a little bit, and then we will hop off.
Yeah.
We've been going for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, we can hang for a bit.
How many did we wind up doing?
I think we did what, 6 or 8? Let me see. We did 13.
We did 13?
We did 13. When I said we had 6, I guess we had 6 left. We did 13.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long? How long did it take to do that? I guess we could just go back.
A couple hours, I guess. My question is,
312 is when
maybe
you
you guys
sent
would
the
know
first one.
better. How long did we spend on each one? I want to say maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so.
It's about an hour and a half to do 13.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And each one of those, before they hit the stream, were pre-nightshaded. So.
Badu says, for the fundraiser, where should I send the donation proof and my piece of art? We have an email. We took it off screen right now because we're not taking any more right now. I'm out of focus. I'm sorry. We have an email. The email will be up on Nightshade All Night, and you will send your screenshot with the proof of your donation and the piece of art to that same email. So
just 2 attachments on Thursday night. Send that screenshot and then send the piece of art you want us to take a look at. And Steve will take a look at it. I will make a couple of pithy comments. And that'll be it, man, really. We'll just chill and do the same thing. We'll try to entertain you and keep you company. And for those of you that don't feel like it, if you want to just draw and hang out with us, you're always welcome to do that. You know?
Yeah, always. You know.
So, Mizubi Art, you did not miss out. We're still here. We're just hanging out. And Thursday you're going to have several hours to not miss out.
Mizubi said, is this form for imagination? No, this is for Nightshade All Night. So we were just taking submissions from the chat here.
Anirudh Bensal said, Stephen and Joe, I like that you noticed that the jewelry and clothing design motifs in my artwork with South Asian/Indian. So that's a confirmation that I did good work on the design. Yes, of course. Also, my fiance is Bangladeshi, so I wasn't not gonna identify that. So good work.
Yeah, Joe's definitely got the eye and the life experience for that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. This was very inspiring.
Daily Doodle said, are you nightshading these? Everything that you saw in this stream was nightshaded.
In real time, by me, while being funny. Hilarious, even.
We are nightshading your images for you in Nightshade All Night.
All night long.
Many thanks to Joe for helping me out. It would be very difficult for me to do this without assistance here.
Yeah, no worries, man.
It would be mind-numbing to try to do all of that and then be like, all right, here's what I think about it. And then go back to collecting emails and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a 2-man job, 2-person job. How dare you?
Yeah, but as you were sending them in, Joe was pulling them out of the email, nightshading them, and then everything that you were seeing on screen was nightshaded.
Thomas 53 says, how long will the stream be on Thursday? We're going to get started at 6:30 p.m.
And we do not know how long it will be.
We're going to dehydrate ourselves so we don't have to go pee-pee. We're going to eat beforehand so we don't have to go eat, because I have very little shame, but I'm not eating on stream. I'm not doing a mukbang.
Yeah.
I'm not doing ASMR. First of all, me eating, pizza or whatever the heck else we're going to eat beforehand, it would not be ASMR.
It'll be long. It'll hurt.
Yeah, no, we're gonna go.
I don't know how long it'll be, but it'll hurt. I mean, we're trying to raise funds, right? We're trying to raise funds. So as long as funds are coming in and people are interested in having fun, we'll try to go. Until, of course, the Goblin of Sleep overtakes us.
Yeah, and I think it's easier. I don't want to speak for both of us, but I'm speaking for both of us. I think it's probably easier for us to do this, hanging with another person and talking or whatever, than it is. Steve is, as you all know, very, very used to streaming alone. Yeah. I get very bored of the sound of my own voice. So I don't know. We're gonna go as long as we can, and then when we get sleepy, we'll stop.
We'll go as long as we can, or until my wife screams from the other room, "Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to sleep."
We'll go as long as we can, and then if you guys keep donating, we'll just tilt the cameras towards the carpet, and we'll go nighty time right on the floor.
Sleep right on
we'll
the
just
floor.
Curl up, and then it'll be a sleep stream. You can watch us snooze. That's not happening.
My poor wife does have work the next morning, and in New York City, most apartments all the walls are paper thin, and unfortunately the studio shares a massive wall with the bedroom.
Oh yeah.
So her poor head will be right on the other side of this while we're going, art! She might need to sleep.
Another donation! Ringing a fucking bell.
Ding, 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 ding!
We're gonna ring a bell.
Get 'em, boys! Nightshade everything! Oh my God.
Are there chain restaurants where when someone gets a tip, they ring a freaking bell?
I think there are, yeah.
There are, yeah. We're not doing that.
I don't know which one
We're
that
not
is.
doing that.
I refrain from ever going out, so I have no experience with any of that
He
stuff.
doesn't. He doesn't leave. Pro tip, suplex mess. Pro tips, walk fanny before. Yeah, we're going to have to remember that one. We fucked that one up today.
That's all right. If we walk her around 5 or 4, she'll last. At that point, she'd last until the next day. She'd be fine. So yeah.
Partially human. I was only going to join the stream because of the eating. And you were joining for the wrong reasons, my friend.
Wrong stream. I have another channel for that though.
The ASMR of Joe sipping coffee.
Will the stream be same time on Thursday? No, it's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern time.
Yeah.
Drinkwater says, tons of good knowledge. Thanks for this. Hope it could become something repeating. This is a fun format. I mean, I like doing speed crits like this. This is fun for me. I like this. I just, again, like I said, this is not really something that's sustainable to do alone. It's very difficult to do.
Well, I'll tell you what actually is really nice for me, right? Like any of us, all of us, we all have the experience, everyone in the chat here. You log onto Instagram and you just scroll past dozens and hundreds of hours of people's work without a second thought. And you only maybe click on the thumbnail of that stuff maybe every 9 or 12. And you're like an emperor scrolling through art, not impressed by anything. And that's all real stuff. And here, when someone that you're talking to sends something to you, you look at it and you consider, wow, this person who's in chat, they made this, they spent hours on it, they sent it to us, you consider it for a second, it's the only piece in front of you, it's blown up, we got it on 3 or 4 screens. And it really makes you appreciate, the art a little bit more. So it's sort of like, when you go to a museum or a gallery, the piece is in front of you. You're not Caligula scrolling through thousands of art pieces.
Caligula of all all people. That's a bit of a rough comparison. This one I'm worried about. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna show that one.
Yeah.
We gotta remember to put on the rules for night of. Remind me to add to the rules up top. No nudity. No not safe for work.
Yeah,
I think that should be pretty obvious, but I don't want anybody, not thinking it through and then sort of feeling
or aggressively
gypped.
Gory. We're trying to do a nice thing.
Even light nudity is it's very risky on YouTube. I could very easily get a strike for that stuff. Yeah. That's mine. No one cares about that. No one cares about my friggin' art. Delete that shit.
I'm going to try to translate this comment and see if I could read it.
Wow, Joe's dedication is incredible. I never translate comments.
Oh, my goodness. You know what the problem is? I'm not sure what language that is. Maybe that's Greek.
Rake, how you doing, Rake? Good to see you. Oh,
Okay.
Rake says nah, we'll be fine. Rake does a lot of racy things on on YouTube.
Oh yeah. All right, then we'll do what we could do. So this person,
I'm still cautious. That's Rake's personal experience. I don't know. I have to say, well, here's the thing. I haven't had bad experiences on YouTube, but I've been cautious on YouTube because YouTube is my primary thing. But I've had bad experiences on everything else. Facebook,
Yeah.
YouTube, TikTok. So
Sure.
YouTube's different for me. Like TikTok, I was like, this is a lark. I was 2 warnings in. I was still like, fuck it. I would still post the monster butts that I knew were getting me in trouble. But YouTube's like my main thing. And I'm just I'd rather be very cautious about getting a strike
100%.
on YouTube.
So
I would need to do more research into just what people can sort of get away with.
Yulia Chukreva says, and I'm sorry, I'm sure I butchered your name, Stephen, excellent graphics. It's a shame that you don't draw nature like I do.
Shishkin and Repin.
Shishkin
Excellent
and Repin,
taste.
I would like to learn from you on the forum course, learn techniques and techniques.
Well, you know.
Google Translate sucks, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't draw nature. Yeah, it's always interesting to me in stream to see that people don't people think that I only do what I've done on stream for the past few years. I have spent a lot of time doing landscapes. I used to go plein air painting pretty often. I wouldn't say I'm quite as good as Shishkin or Repin, but I've got to be just about right up there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got a whole lifetime ahead of me of hopefully sharing art knowledge. So maybe at some point there will be more landscape-related stuff from me. Most of my art money, like money that I've made off of making art, commercial art, the vast majority of all the work I ever did commercially was environments, landscapes, things like that. If you want a recommendation from me, the person I learned the most from landscape design-wise was a landscape artist from the northeast of the United States called Stapleton Kearns. Kind of a weird name, but he's, I think, a great teacher and a great painter. He has an old blog, like a Blogspot blog that he doesn't update anymore. I'm pretty sure he stopped writing to it, but back in the mid-2000s, he was writing posts in it all the time and basically just downloading classic landscape painting knowledge onto it. It's like, I think it's probably it's hundreds of posts. I don't know if it's 1,000 posts, but I read that whole blog back in like 2008 or 2009. And that was very educational for me. And that's all landscape focused.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh. That's my wife. That must have been so loud.
Scared the crap out of me.
I'm sorry, everybody. Do you want to close that door while we say goodbye,
Surely,
Joe?
surely.
Because she's going to keep
Okay.
barking. My wife's home, so it's probably a good time for us to cut this. Rake says, no problem. Mostly Twitch is the problem. Check my figure drawing videos. They are labeled as educational. So do I have to put a label? Like, do I have to click an actual label? I should be more up on how YouTube works, but I'm not. I will have to look into that, Rake. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry that we just blew out everybody's ears.
Mizubi Art, how do you draw? I don't know if you just read this one. How do you draw and focus despite being exhausted? Coffee, sugar, drugs, inspiration, cold shower, acupuncture. I can't speak for Steve, but for myself, I know that I get more done creatively if I'm eating right and exercising.
Yeah.
3 days a week exercise and eating not garbage all the time.
I just try not to work exhausted. I know just from knowing you, Mizubi, I know that you are really in a phase where you're like trying to push yourself as hard as you can, and this might not be the time in your life to hear it, or it might not be a time in your life where you really have a lot of control over it. We go through periods where finances are hard or we're in school and things like that. But there's very few reasons to be exhausted, like good reasons to be exhausted. Especially if you have the spare time to invest into art, you're most likely in a life situation where you do have some control. You're not in an emergency. You're not starving.
Yeah.
So if you do have the spare time to invest into art, there's very few reasons that overlap with that to be exhausting yourself. And it would be better to, like Joe said, eat right, get some exercise, sleep enough. If you're exhausted, you are probably on the train to burnout. And the shallow pride that can come from working all the time usually does not pay dividends in the sense of actually producing good work.
Yeah.
There's lots of people who have 5 years under their belt of I worked every hour that I possibly could, and they don't have anything good to show for those 5 years. And that when they compare their work to somebody who slept for a lot of that time, that person had the energy to actually get inspiration and ride the lightning every now and then. And that person across the same 5 years might have maybe just 2 or 3 finished pieces they're proud of, but that's better than the 0 that the burnt out person had, right? So yeah, I would just be very cautious about stuff like that.
And there's a flip side of that coin, right? If you're the type that you're lying in bed and you're trying to go to sleep and you're like, and this has happened to me before, and you're bombarded in your thoughts with a piece you really want to do. If you were to get out of bed and go to your table and start sculpting or drawing it, you may find that in reality you don't have the energy to do it, but maybe you need to write down that idea that you want to get to work on when you are well rested. When I was younger, it felt like a contradiction, like how am I going to go to the gym and lift weights or hit the heavy bag or something like that and then have the energy to like go home and then use all my forearm strength to muscle clay around. But on weeks or months where I didn't exercise at all, I was tired all the time and did way less artwork. Even if I'm just, me and you are working on a thing, and lately the lift for me artistically has been writing, which is sitting at a keyboard doing what I do 9 to 5 anyway, writing, right? But for me, if I'm going to sit down to write, I need, coffee for sure. I'm a coffee addict. I do 3-4 cups a day, 100%. Not going to lie about that. But the days where I drink more water and I don't eat nothing but carbs, when I eat a balanced sort of a meal or meals and then, get some exercise in, I actually have a little bit more energy to create something. Even if it's less work by volume, it tends to be stuff that I'm happier with the next day.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, I got to stay up till 3 a.m. and I gotta stream it, and then I gotta take that's the other thing. We're living in this world where, in order for any of us to get any sort of traction, where we're all trying to record what we're doing and then post it on 3 social sites and all this stuff, and it hinders the work sometimes. It really does. And
there's a bunch of people, dittoing that in the chat. So take it seriously. There's a few more questions, but I'm gonna cut this here. We gotta conserve our energy for Thursday.
We're sleepy boys. We don't want to burn out.
No, we gotta build it up. I'm gonna do nothing on Thursday before the stream. I'm gonna make sure that I'm raring to go. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you for helping us test run the setup. We appreciate seeing all of your work. And for those of you who can make it, we will see you on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Should be about an hour and a half from now. So consider dropping by, and we will do this again, just with the donations thrown into the mix. All right. Take care, everybody.
See
Happy
you,
folks.
See you.